The comments in this video are not necessarily my own. They're actually the observations based on the myriad of emails that I get on a scarily regular basis from normal divers who have finished their basic training or are struggling to finish due to some kind of instructor issue. These are the 7 deadly sins of bad dive instructors. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Divers Ready. My name's James. As always, so great to see all of your smiling faces. I hope you're all doing really well. If you're new to our channel, welcome. Make your next dive on our subscribe button and support the content because we make videos with one simple goal, and that's to help make you the best diver you can be. And the goal of this video is twofold. I want to make the scuba diving public aware that there are quality dive instructors out there in the world who really care about their craft. And there are not so quality dive instructors, and here's how you tell them apart. Secondly, I want to help new dive instructors avoid some of the pitfalls that I had to learn the hard way in my early career, because there is no support coming from your training agency. So maybe I can help you avoid forming a few bad habits. Now, if you're a diver who has been on the receiving end, let me know in the comments below. If you're a dive instructor, hey, own your own toxic traits. That's what I'm going to be doing as we go through. It's okay. This is a safe space. Let's dive in. First up, this is a doozy. Overweighting or poor buoyancy. I'll say it again. When I was training to be an instructor, I was taught to tell my students to kneel. There is a better way. If you're an instructor who is too lazy to teach proper buoyancy and insists on teaching skills in the unrealistic position of kneeling on the bottom, we've already made a separate video on why this is stupid, I'll link above there, then you're probably also the kind of instructor who likes to convince their students that they need much more weight than they actually do. Nearly every day I'm setting my gear up on a dive boat and I'll hear someone ask for 24 pounds of lead on a shallow key largo reef dive for a jacket style BCD in an L80. And I'll look over and I'll be like, who needs 24 pounds of lead? And it's a 110-pound girl wearing a 3mm shorty. Now, where did this slip of a lass get the idea that she needs so much lead? Their instructor told them. Why? Why? Well, it's very simple. Overweighted students are easier to control. If in doubt, you know where you're going to find them. On the bottom. It is much easier to overweight students and have them anchored to the sand or dive platform than it is to teach proper weighting and buoyancy. It's just dumb laziness, and it's dangerous, and it makes diving harder and more cumbersome than it needs to be, which puts people off the sport altogether, and I can't stand that. Next up is poor communication or not responding to requests for information. Look, hey, guilty. Mea culpa. I have to own this one. Since starting this channel, this is definitely something I have had to work a lot harder at. I get inundated with emails and messages across all the multitude of platforms out there, including YouTube comments and everything else, and I try to direct everyone to my email because that is the absolute best way to reach me. But then I get busy teaching, I get locked into a long week of a course, my days are long, and digging myself out of my inbox is the last thing I want to do in the evening after a long day in the water. But it has to be done, and I'm working to be better at it. So I get messages from people all the time that say they reached out to instructors for courses and just never heard back at all. So I try and answer everybody who contacts me, even if the answer is just, no, sorry, I can't help you with that, but at least give some kind of a response. I'm sure I miss more than a few, and if that's you, I'm truly sorry. I hate the idea that people are out there that like, I emailed James and he's too important to reply to me. That is absolutely not the case, no offense intended. Next up, well, this is a big one. I should have probably put this at #1 position, not that these are in any particular order, but yeah, standards violations, teaching the bare minimum, minimal skills repetitions. I've talked about this a little bit before on the channel, but allow me to expand. The minimum effort instructor, that's basically what we're talking about here. This is the instructor who either willfully breaks standards through laziness or ignorance, or teaches just the minimum requirements, or takes the one and done approach to skills. Now, you may have seen your instructor use something that looks like this. These are skills slates, and they're waterproof cards that basically have reminders for your instructor on what is required on each different dive of the course that you happen to be doing. But these are just the bare minimums. I should probably do a whole video just on standard violations, but for now, let me give you a quick example. Let's take the swim test for the open water course, for example. The standard for the swim test for the training agency whose programs I currently offer says distance swim of 200 meters non-stop using any stroke without the use of mask, snorkel, or any swimming aids, or 300 meters non-stop using mask, snorkel, and fins. So just with that one skill, the swim test, some common violations that I see committed on a regular basis include allowing rest breaks. It clearly says non-stop. Allowing the use of a wetsuit, which is a flotation aid, which it says you can't use. And then not completing the required distance or cutting the skill short. There's no reason for any of those three things to happen. There's a reason standards exist, and yes, while I enjoy poking fun at the ridiculous business model of scuba diver training agencies, we need regulated courses, we need standards, otherwise this sport will be incredibly dangerous. So if you can't swim 200 meters non-stop without a float, you shouldn't be a scuba diver. That's why the standard is there. You need to prove that you can, and if your instructor isn't allowing you to perform the full skill or not do the skill adequately, they're doing you a massive disservice and they're putting you in danger. One thing I like about the agency whose programs I currently teach, D.S.D.O, is that all of the course standards for all of their courses are available on their website in the public domain. You don't need a login or anything. So if you're doing an SDI or TDI course with your instructor, you as the student can go to the website anytime, look at the course page, scroll to the bottom, click open the PDF, bring up the official course standards that your instructor is supposed to be delivering to you, and keep your instructor honest. Not that you should have to, but see if you can find PADI's course standards on their website. Good luck with that. In any case, it's important to remember that those standards are the minimum requirements. If all you get taught are the minimums, you're passing a C- grade. Now, I'm not suggesting that instructors breach standards. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a lot that can be taught outside of the course standards that agencies' courses don't touch on. For example, diver etiquette, boat etiquette, how to buy dive gear, how to pack dive gear for travel. I could carry on, but was your dive instructor a C- dive instructor, or did they put the extra effort in? Did they have you repeat skills until you were completely comfortable and fluid? One sign combination my students see regularly from me is, great, excellent, good job, handshake, do it again. And they're like, wait, I thought you said I did it well. Yeah, you did it well, do it again. Repetition. Next up, let's talk about poor briefing or debriefing skills. Typical signs that a dive instructor's briefing skills are not where they need to be include no briefing or debriefing at all. I've seen that happen. The brief or debrief is not structured or organized, which obviously leads to confusion, or the brief or debrief is not interactive and the communication is all one way. There is a really easy way to tell if an instructor's briefing was either non-existent or weak. Look at the team in the water. How much communication is happening? If you see an instructor under normal non-emergency conditions give more than 2 or 3 hand signals in a row, if their body language seems frantic because their students don't understand what's going on, or if you see them furiously scribbling notes on a slate or in their wet notes, there is a high probability that their briefing was utter garbage. The way I like to handle briefings is multi-leveled. First briefing of the day is before we even set our gear up, super high level, the schedule, the overview, the goals for the day, where we want to be at the end of the day, and the themes for each dive we're going to do that day. Then comes the dive briefing that happens on the dock less than an hour before we splash, which is a detailed step-by-step chronological plan for the dive. Then, before we don gear and buddy check, I do a very concentrated reminder of the briefing of the key points and objectives of the dive, super focused, then we do the dive. Now, all of that is led by me, but it's very conversational. It needs to have student input, and they need to tell me that they're comfortable with the plan and suggest any changes that they'd like, and it's a two-way street. Unlike the bullshit you'll find in the TDI manual that states ideally the debrief will take place prior to exiting the water, don't even get me started with that, I don't start a debrief until the dive is over, and the dive isn't over until every member of the team is back on board the boat, all gear is secured, and each diver has been made comfortable. Only then can we have a thorough debrief, which is a different style of briefing. It's very conversational, very relaxed, usually led by the student. Believe it or not, there are still instructors out there who have weak dive skills themselves and weak knowledge. I got on a dive boat with my CCR the other day, and I heard another instructor student ask them what gear I was carrying, and the instructor explained, "Oh, that's a closed circuit respirator." Huh? Say that again? One more time. And then they proceeded to explain incorrectly what a closed circuit respirator is. Now, I'm not giving that example to poke fun at a fellow instructor. There's no fun to be had there in that individual's absolute ignorance and lack of professional knowledge. And whilst not every dive instructor needs to be a CCR diver, I would expect at least every dive instructor to have a basic knowledge of what the acronym stands for and what a CCR actually is. Basic knowledge. I also see dive instructors with horrible sack rates. I see dive instructors with terrible trim and poor overall dive skills. How? How are you a dive instructor when you can barely dive yourself? When you become an instructor, you instantly become a role model and an ambassador for the sport. It is your duty to continue your own education outside of what your agency has taught you. It is your duty to work on your dive skills so they are as good as they can be. And part of the problem here is the 0 to hero instructor development programs. They need to be dropped into the fires of Mount Doom. Also, new instructors, remember this. If you take one copy of each manual your training agency produces and you read them all cover to cover and digest everything, you have about 10% of the total knowledge you need to be successful in this field. At any given time, I have 2 books on my bedside table. One is usually a murder mystery or a rock and roll biography. The other is a non-fiction book to do with diving, physics, physiology, leadership, communication, something that will further my professional development. If you're looking for a place to start, I have a suggested reading list on our website, and I will link to that in the description of this video below. Next up, a common frustration I hear from students is some instructors like to be incredibly vague with their pricing structure. Oh man, here we go. There are many how cheap can we make it courses out there, and I don't understand the business model of that. No sane student wants the product or service of the lowest bidding dive instructor, just like no skydiver buys their parachutes from Bob's Discount Parachutes bargain bin. But okay, fine, charge what you want for your services. But don't nickel and dime, man, that's just dirty. I hate that. I see online offers all the time for get scuba certified, $99. Wow, what a deal. Your training must be amazing at that price. And then you find out, oh, and you need to buy your e-learning, and you need to buy your C card, and you need to rent scuba gear, and you need to pay for the pool time, and you need to buy your spaces on the boat, and you need to buy your air fills, and of course, your course ends up being the same as everyone else's. They just went the greasy used car salesman way of doing it, and I hate that. Tell me the price, tell me what's included, and tell me what's not included and how much that costs, and allow me to budget. Number 7 then is overselling. Say it with me together. An open water diver with 4 or 5 log dives is not ready to take their advanced class. I don't care what standards allow, and I don't care if the student happens to be God's natural gift to diving. I will never sell an advanced level class to an open water diver I just certified. If I lose business because of it, I don't care. I'll sell you the open water course, oh yeah, and I'll sell you a nitrox course together with it. But then you're going to go away and do 20 or 25 dives without me before we even talk about going to the next level. Go and do some actual dives and come back and see me when you're ready for the next level in 6 months or a year. This ramming the next course down the student's throat is absolutely absurd. And I will say that we are slightly better at the technical level, I guess because there is more risk. So any technical diving instructor that I respect is very good at saying to potential students, you're not ready, go away and get more experience and then come back. And I just wish that that happened more at recreational levels too. But again, This needs to change at agency level, and whilst all training agencies still allow back-to-back courses with no required extra experience in between, there will be instructors out there toting the minimums and doing the bare minimum. That makes me very sad. Let me know in the comments below which of these or other deadly sins did you have perpetrated upon you during your training. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for spending your time with me. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already, and smash that like button if you enjoyed this video. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit the thumbs down button twice. Share this video with your dive buddies so that they can be better informed about selecting dive instructors, and I will see you in the next video. Dive safe, dive often.